Attention all LA City tenants and landlords. There's a new required form called the LA City Renter Protections Notice. This form must go to all residential rental units in the city of Los Angeles. In this guide for tenants and landlords, we're going to help you figure out whether you actually are in LA City. We're going to run through a copy of this notice to show you what it covers, and stick around to the end for a few frequently asked questions that we already know you're going to ask. Hey there, Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates. We have been helping LA landlords and tenants play nice in the sandbox during these crazy days, and we're here with a big update that you need to watch. And remember, we can't give tax or legal advice, but for the most honest and up-to-date real estate advice, subscribe to this channel. So one of your first big questions will be, how do you know if you're in LA City or not? And a lot of folks are confused as to whether they are. We are going to give you the definitive way to figure out whether you're in LA City or not, and that is to visit Zimas. You're going to plug that into your browser and you are going to type in your address and you're going to figure out whether you're LA City or not. And that will be the definitive answer. And it's surprising how big LA City is. So when you open it up, you can search by address. We're going to do that in a minute. But this gives you an idea. All the areas with color are considered LA City. Going back, search by address. So type in your address, put the house number and the street name. Not more than that, just the name of the street, and hit go, and boom, this is an example, 123 Main Street. This is in LA City, and you'll be able to get the zoning. You're gonna come over here to housing, and you're gonna get some cool stuff, including whether it's under the rent stabilization ordinance or not. So this particular parcel is not. It says no under RSO. So that is how you determine whether you're in LA City and whether you fall under LA City rules. So where can you find the LA City Renter Protections Notice that needs to go out to every residential property in LA City? Well, you're going to go to the LAHD website. We have a link below so you can visit that. And there's a lot on this page, and we'll dive into it in additional videos. But right now, we're going to talk about the notice that's required to go out. So you're going to scroll down the page until you get to the protections notice. And here, there is an English and Spanish version. And it says right here that this must be given to any new tenant after January 27th, 2023, or tenants who are having their lease renewed. They would need to receive this notice. Additionally, it must be posted in a common accessible area. Now, if it's just one unit, you got to put it somewhere the tenant's going to see it. Maybe the garage door, the front door needs to be posted. And landlords, I recommend you take a picture when it is posted. So you're going to go ahead and choose the notice in English or Spanish, and we'll dive into what this notice covers, because it covers a lot. Diving into the notice, so the very first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to skip ahead to the next page, and there's a reason why. I want you to look at the date of the notice. So the one that I'm covering, it's published February 21st, 2023. Landlords and tenants, I recommend that you go here to find the latest version of the notice, because there may be changes. In fact, there's a little typo right here. Maybe that'll be fixed in a future notice. So make sure you're using the latest notice. Now, does that mean as a landlord that you have to post the latest notice every time it comes out? You might want to. You may want to do that. And of course, when you're meeting those requirements for a new lease or renewal of a lease, you are going to want to come here to make sure you have the latest version of this form. So it covers a lot of ground, gives a lot of information for tenants so they understand their rights. For questions, tenants and landlords can visit the website or call this number here. So these protections, and we talked about most of these in our previous video. We have a link so you can check that one out. These apply to all residential rental units in the city of Los Angeles. And remember, I showed you how you can find out whether you're in the city of Los Angeles. So make sure you download this, Tenants and Landlords, and take a look at it yourself, read through it, make sure you understand these different sections. So first we'll cover non-payment of rent. So tenants must pay their rent starting February 1st, 2023 in LA City. No more COVID renter protections, except that falls within LA County's eviction moratorium. So technically, if you're affected by COVID as a tenant, you're at 80% of area median income or less, then you are protected through March 31st, 2023. That may change depending on what LA County does. So that would be one reason this form would change if LA County changes things. And the tenants that take advantage of this, they have up until March 31st, 2024 to repay that rent. Moving on to the next section, at fault evictions. And what does at fault mean? Well, that means that the tenant has done something wrong. It's the tenant is at fault. So let's talk about at fault. It runs through a list of at-fault reasons. There's others. This is not fully comprehensive. And it reminds us that there's eviction protections for unauthorized pets and additional tenants through January 31st, 2024. It is longer in LA City than it is LA County for those two categories. Moving into no-fault evictions, this is the biggest change that these renter protections have put in place. They've expanded the no-fault protections that RSO properties have onto what are non-RSO properties. And the no-fault eviction reasons are very narrow. Occupancy for the owner or family member to move in, put a resident manager in, compliance with government order, demolition or taking it off the market, that would be Ellis Act, or to convert it to affordable housing. The one they left out here is to do an extensive remodel. That is also another reason it can actually, you can be given a no-fault eviction, but there are special steps that need to be followed by landlords. And this is also brand new. Landlords are required to submit a declaration of intent to evict. So this is brand new. This form covers a lot, but it doesn't cover every nook and cranny of the ordinance. Check out my other video for more on the renter protections. Moving back up, another big change is relocation assistance. It's expanded under state law, under AB 1482, and we've done content on that. A single family home that was owned by a landlord, technically there was no relocation assistance that was owed to a tenant if a landlord terminated the tenancy for a no-fault reason, and the landlord didn't have to give a reason for the no-fault termination. So this is adding a lot of layers, a lot of changes, much more strict than the state law. So moving into the relocation assistance, what's important to understand is this relocation assistance, you're going to have to figure out whether the landlord qualifies for a discounted relocation assistance. And that is, for example, a single family dwelling. It's owned by a landlord who's a natural person, just a person, not a corporation. And they own fewer than 4 plus 1 single family home in LA City. They're only going to be required to give 1 month's rent for relocation if a no-fault eviction is given. The other categories for relocation assistance are for properties. These match closely the RSO property limits. These are the amounts that they're going to have to pay to an eligible tenant or a qualified tenant. And I go through it in my video on the renter protections, what a qualified tenant is. One other thing to note on here, and this is why this will also be updated, and that is because it has a relocation assistance from July 1st of 2022 through June 30th of 2023. What that means is that LA City is and will be able to adjust these numbers and take them higher. So that's what's going to happen over time. These numbers are going to change. So you're going to need to see what the latest numbers are by visiting the LA City website. Moving on through, I told you there's a lot in here. Rent increases under the RSO. Those are frozen through February 1st, 2024. So landlords cannot increase rents for RSO properties. Once we get closer to that date, they will let you know, landlords, how much you can raise the rent under RSO. And then rent increases under the state law. So there are non-RSO properties that fall under AB 1482, which caps how much the rent increases can be. The consumer price index is so high right now that the default 10% cap has been triggered, and that is the maximum rental increase that can happen for a non-RSO property that falls under AB 1482. There's something in here that will catch the non-RSO non-AB 1482 properties. That would be a single family home, for example, that's owned by a natural person. There's a catch in here for those landlords that you need to see, tenants and landlords. Moving right along, now we're on page 2. So the section on the left here talks about COVID-19 rental debt. That is the technical name for back rent from certain periods. It discusses that. And when those funds are due back to the landlord, then it talks about consumer debt eviction protections. And this is all stuff that I've covered in old videos. Then we get into another big change here. And this is any written notice terminating a tenancy must be filed with the LAHD within 3 business days of service. This is where they're explaining that whether it's an at-fault notice to terminate tenancy or a no-fault notice to terminate tenancy, LAHD needs a copy. A lot of landlords, and potentially even landlords using attorneys until the attorneys wrap their heads around this, are going to miss this. And what happens if you miss this? This would become an affirmative defense for the tenant if that landlord moves forward with an unlawful detainer. And that means that the tenant can bring this up in their answer to the unlawful detainer, potentially get in front of the judge, use that as a defense, and have it thrown out. If the landlord does not file that at fault or no fault notice of termination of tenancy within 3 business days to LAHD. 2 more important things to cover on this form, and I'm going to be releasing additional content because these actually aren't in place yet. As of March 27th, 2023, these 2 provisions will go into place. And the first is economic displacement. If a landlord increases the rent more than 10% within 12 months, and the tenant decides to move out, the landlord is going to owe relocation assistance. I will dive into this more in the other video. The quick thing to remember is the only way a landlord could increase the rent legally more than 10% within a 12-month period is if it is a non-RSO, non-AB 1482 property. So for example, a house. And the other important thing is the landlord will need to give a 90-day notice, not a 30-day notice for that rent increase. And if the tenant decides to move out, the tenant's going to get some money. And the other big change on here, again, coming March 27th, evictions for non-payment of rent. A landlord cannot move forward with an eviction for non-payment of rent. And this is not related to COVID. This is after March 27th, 2023. Landlord can't move forward until it exceeds the fair market rent levels at these thresholds here. The landlord must wait, for example, for a 2-bedroom apartment, no matter what the actual rent is. Landlord's going to have to wait until the amount owed is over $2,222. So for example, let's say a tenant pays $2,000 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment in LA City. They can miss 1 month's rent plus miss a little bit of the following month before the landlord can move forward with an eviction under this new provision. Again, we're going to release more content on that. And at the bottom, you've got the hours, the phone number to call if you want to file a complaint. And my guess is this is a complaint for tenants. I don't think they're going to listen to complaints from landlords. And then if you have a question, of course, you can ask LAHD, or you can leave it in the comments below. Let's run through a few questions I know people are going to ask because I've been doing this for a long time. Number 1 is, where can I find the most recent version of this form? And if you're asking that, you weren't paying attention, we have the link below so you can visit the LAHD website and download the newest version. Another common question will be, what happens if a landlord does not post this form in a conspicuous place? And the short answer is, it hasn't been tested out yet. It will be most likely in courts of law. What it would essentially provide would be an affirmative defense for a tenant. So before a landlord could move forward with an eviction, if they're attempting to, the tenant could say, hey, I was never given a copy of this notice. It wasn't posted in a public place, and it could potentially invalidate that unlawful detainer, invalidate that notice. So that's most likely how it will be handled if the notice is not posted as required. Another common question landlords will have, well, can I still sell my property even with all this relocation assistance and owner move-in requirements, etc.? The short answer is yes, but you are going to need the help of a professional who understands those steps. And I'm not just patting myself on the back, but we're one of the few agents that actually know the correct process so that a landlord respects tenants' right and follows the letter of the law. So make sure you reach out before attempting to sell a rental property in LA City. In fact, we've opened up an office in LA to help with this very thing. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. There's 3 quick things I'm going to ask. Number 1 is, Please share this video with anybody you think needs to hear it, whether it's a tenant or a landlord. Number 2 is subscribe to our free weekly email newsletter so you get these updates in your email inbox. We have a link below so that you can receive every Sunday the latest updates that you need to see. And the third thing is make sure you watch this next video so you better understand LA and landlord and tenant regulations. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates, and we want to hear from you.